Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, hope you've all been doing well. In this video, I wanted to give you guys an overview of the new Ryzen APUs from AMD, the Ryzen 3 2200G and the Ryzen 5 2400G. These new APUs look quite impressive, offering great specs for their price and could save a lot of users out there who are on a budget. What makes these products so intriguing is the inclusion of VEGA graphics. Connected to the CPU using AMD's Infinity Fabric is a VEGA GPU, and depending on which APU you're looking at, the amount of VEGA compute units can vary. So let's quickly go ahead and look at the specs. Both CPUs have 4 cores, except the 2400G has SMT enabled, which gives it 8 threads. The 2400G has a base clock of 3.6 GHz and a boost clock of 3.9 GHz. Whereas the 2200G has a lower base and boost clock at 3.5 GHz and 3.7 GHz respectively. Both CPUs have the same amount of L2 cache at 2 MB and the same amount of L3 cache at 4 MB. Now the Ryzen 5 2400G has 11 VEGA compute units and 704 stream processors, and the Ryzen 3 2200G has 8 VEGA compute units along with 512 stream processors. Both CPUs have a configurable TDP from 46 to 65 watts, which is great because that's decently low. Both Raven Ridge CPUs out of the box have improved memory support. DDR4 2933 MHz should be a lot more attainable than the Ryzen 1000 series processors. The Ryzen 5 2400G has an MSRP of $169 and the Ryzen 3 2200G will be going for just $99. So fantastic prices for both processors. I think at these price points, the performance per dollar will be excellent. The APUs could very well be the answer to the budget-oriented gamers out there, but I'll be talking about that more later on in this video. Looking at the performance benchmarks of these two APUs from various sites, and overall the statement seems to be a positive one. On the CPU side of things, the 2200G and 2400G offer competitive performance against the competition. TechSpot's CPU benchmarks such as Adobe Premiere Pro, Corona, and POV-Ray show both of these APUs going head-to-head against Intel's offerings, while also edging out the older 1500X and 1300X in most cases. Over at Computerbase, their Blender results show positive gains over AMD's previous Ryzen CPUs, the Ryzen 5 1400 and the Ryzen 3 1200. Their VeraCrypt results show the Ryzen 5 2400G having a significant lead over the 6-core i5 8400. Guru3D's Cinebench benchmarks show a similar story. Overall, these APUs are quite capable at handling many kinds of CPU workloads. However, that's not even the full story. When it comes to gaming performance, the integrated VEGA GPUs in both APUs seem to offer some very impressive performance. Popular titles like Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Fortnite Battle Royale, Overwatch, and Rocket League are all handled just fine by the integrated VEGA GPUs. Yes, you're not going to be getting a rock-solid 1080p 60 FPS with ultra settings. You're obviously going to have to settle for low to medium settings, but can you really complain at these price points? Think about it, a $99 APU will allow you to enjoy Rocket League at 1080p high settings at around 50 FPS average, which is still totally playable. Meanwhile, Intel CPUs with their integrated graphics cannot give you a playable experience at all. Also, these APUs offer performance that's comparable to a separate CPU and discrete GPU combo, such as the GT 1030 or RX 550, which will cost considerably more. With the current situation that's going on with the graphics card market, how GPUs are out of stock and overpriced, budget-oriented gamers who are looking into building an entry-level gaming PC were basically out of options. However, these APUs are the answer to their problems because now they don't have to worry about getting a discrete graphics card and spending more money. All they need is the APU. I was on PC Part Picker playing around with some builds and I compared two builds. One was consisting of an AMD Ryzen 5 2400G, and the other build had an Intel Core i3 8100. What I discovered was that the AMD build has more CPU power, because remember, the 2400G is a quad-core with SMT, and the i3 8100 is a quad-core with no hyper-threading. Graphics performance of these two builds is very similar, but you don't have to spend extra money on a discrete GPU with the AMD build like you would have to do with the Intel build. Also, with the amount of money you're saving, you can also get higher clock dual-channel DDR4 memory, and I highly suggest it if you're someone who's considering buying one of these APUs. Memory frequency scaling is very important, and so is the configuration of the memory channels. Results from TechSpot and Computerbase show that having faster RAM can have a significant impact in many games, and also running the memory with 2 sticks in dual channel can also drastically improve results. With that said, when comparing these two builds, the i3 8100 build is a little over $60 more expensive, while the AMD build is cheaper, gives you a more powerful CPU, and faster memory. Another important thing to note about these APUs is the integrated VEGA graphics will be utilizing your system memory. By default, 2GB of your system memory will be reserved for the GPU. If you have 8GB of total system memory, 2GB will be reserved for the GPU, while the remaining 6GB will be available to your CPU. Therefore, in some situations, the RAM limitations could hinder performance, so that is something that you might want to keep in mind and whether you'd like to extend your budget and opt for 16GB of memory. AMD, in my opinion, have done an excellent job with these APUs. The CPUs are fantastic, and with the integrated VEGA graphics, they can handle quite a lot of games with acceptable settings no problem. They were an answer to a lot of budget PC gamers out there that couldn't go through what they built due to all the craziness that was happening in the GPU market. Unfortunately, because of the steep RAM prices, it isn't all smooth sailing, but the situation has definitely improved by a mile if you were to ask me. Well guys, that wraps up this one. If you found this video to be informative and helpful, then leave a like. Let me know your questions and comments down below. And if you're interested in more content like this, then hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.